Good morning, everyone. It's Monday. I love Mondays. Mondays are like a brand new, fresh piece of paper in a journal or a blank canvas. But it doesn't have to be Monday to feel that way. We can feel that way anytime we want to. As a matter of fact, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about how every life really is a story and how it's our lives, our stories, and we do get to write them and live them in great big capital letters our way, as long as we're breathing.
As long as you're breathing, keep living. As long as you're breathing, keep living. As long as you're breathing, keep living. As long as you're breathing, keep living.
All right, happy Monday, you all. Yeah, I've already been to the doctor, made it back home, got back earlier than I thought. I'm on my second cup of hot tea. Let's see if I can drink it and talk to you all at the same time so it stays hot. Hope you all are having an amazing day too. It's beautiful and sunny here in Mississippi, although I think we may get some rain and it may cool down a bit later. But that's okay because every day is a beautiful day. So, um, I hope everyone had a great weekend. Mine was good. It was actually great. I went to the symphony, spent time with a really good friend. Um, she and I have way too much fun, always, but I always have fun, whatever I'm doing, because I know that my life is my story, and it's up to me to make sure that I live it my way, and I live it in great big capital letters. And that's what I want to talk to you all about today, is a one page a day quantum leap that I've put together to living your life, your story, your way. Now, I've discussed it with you all before, actually. I've been calling it the um, Energy Management Daily Guide, but it's actually going to change. It's going to just be Energy Management Living with great big capital letters, is what it's going to be changing to. The link is down in the description to the current version of it with a bunch of videos that explain it. But I want to kind of start from in the beginning. Isn't that how stories should start? In the beginning. You see, a few years back, I was in fibromyalgia world, helping people with fibromyalgia. And this concept came to me that every life is a story. And people sharing their stories openly, being vulnerable that way, being transparent that way, is inspirational and motivational to other people. What I was finding was in the chronic pain world, especially fibromyalgia, people were suffering in silence and thought they were doing the right thing because nobody wanted to hear it anyway. Everyone was tired of listening to them. No one understood, etc., etc. And my thoughts kept being, and no one is going to understand if we don't talk about it. So I realized we needed to share our stories. And I also would hear a lot of how it was the worst illness in the world to have. Nobody could understand. Well, that just simply wasn't true. Is it a bad illness? Is it difficult? Yes, it's very difficult. And it requires that you live your life very differently, that you accept that other people look at you and don't see that there's any issues. And so they think you're a freeloader or lazy or all of those things. But all that's true. But all of that was just another reason to come forward and speak up about it. But also to listen to other people's stories and find out that every life is a story, that everyone has something that is difficult for them. And there are people who are terminally ill. There are people who can't walk. There are people who can't see. There are so can't hear, can't eat. I mean, there are so many things worse than living with fibromyalgia. Is it difficult? Yes. Painful? Yes. Mental fogginess? Yes. Can it have you to the point of debilitation? Yes. But there's also ways, especially if you take control of your life, your story, to live with great big capital letters anyway. So that's the direction I went, and I started Every Life is a Story. I didn't know when I did that, though, it was actually quite prophetic. What I have learned as I have gotten into this world of the metaphysical has been transformational for me. Not only have I been bringing stories that are motivational and inspirational and showing the chronic pain, invisible illness world that everyone has something going on, and that the best way to deal with it is be open and honest and transparent, but not focus just on you, but be open to what everyone else's story is. That helps us not feel alone and not so misunderstood, and it gives us control. We are open then to hearing other people's inspirational, motivational stories and how they handled them. And that gives us ideas, and it gives us hope, and it sparks us to believe and to move forward. But it also takes the focus off of what we can't do and puts the focus on what we can do. So I was very glad to be doing that. But what I was finding as I was going through that process of um, introducing the concept of life being a story is that the truth about how everything works was being revealed to me. I got to the point myself to where I could not take medications that had to filter through the kidneys. I do still take medications. I can't take anything that filters through the kidneys, and that's pain medication. And I live with a chronic pain disorder, so that made it a little tough. Well, a quantum emotional healer reached out to me and said, "You have this huge following. I would like them to know about what I do. I'll help you. What do you get to lose? All I'm asking is you let people know if it works or not." So that's what I did. And what I found was it did help me. And it took me to a world of meditating. It took me to a world of the metaphysical, of taking the things I had believed about quantum physics for several years and applying them to this new venture I was on of bringing everyone out of the chronic pain world to sing this big wide world where every life was a story, their story, which is valid and needs to be heard so people will understand and start to learn about fibromyalgia, but also so they would be open to other people's stories and see that other people had very difficult situations too, and they were rising above them and getting through them and learning from them and growing from them and living amazing lives. Well, my situation showed me that all of that is true, but as I got into the quantum physics of it all, I began to understand it really is all about being energy. And that what was going on with many of us in the chronic pain and invisible illness world was the fact that we weren't aware of how to manage our energetic bodies. And so that was causing us to be in fight, flight, and freeze mode all the time, our knobs wide open. So we were constantly taking on other people's emotions, constantly being open to other energies, and it was overwhelming our systems. And we were going into this fear mode, a mode that we're supposed to have naturally, because fear is not always a bad thing. If there's a bear or a lion and it's right there, you want that to kick in. But when fear is causing us to get stuck in life, that's a problem. And that's why I had brought Every Life is a Story to that world, is because I wanted to unstick where we were all at. I wanted to bring new energy in to get people motivated and inspired and get them moving as well. And it turns out that Every Life is a Story was quite prophetic for me, because the very thing I was trying to do with it, the concepts I was bringing in, were the right concepts. I just didn't know why. I knew we were all energy. I had accepted that long before. But how to take that and do anything with it to be better, I didn't understand. Now, my quantum emotional healer, who I will forever be grateful to, was not really able to explain to me why it worked. I did learn a lot about how we had programming that we had to release. I did learn a lot about that. And it took me to listening to Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Gray Brady, listening to Braden, I'm sorry, listening to more information from the quantum physics world. And it also opened me up to really going deep into meditation. And from that, that's where the revelations that I needed started coming from. You see, I had been always one who heard my thoughts. Well, when you've always done something, you don't know that everyone else does it. My whole life, all of my thoughts had different voices. And so there were a few times in my life when I was more than a little worried about that, because other people didn't seem to talk about their thoughts quite the way that I did. My thoughts were alive. My thoughts were vibrant. My thoughts had character to them. Well, I'm kind of a character myself, so I didn't know for sure. Then I had a son who was schizophrenic as well. He had other health issues, but he was schizophrenic. So there were even a few times when I'm like, okay, I've heard things audibly. I know. I sense things. Or is my son schizophrenia because of me? So I did go, excuse my allergies, folks. Yes, I went to the doctor, but I'm still waiting on the medications. So I did bring these things up with doctors. And I was assured every time, if you're asking us, no, you're not schizophrenic, or you wouldn't be asking us. But none of them would didn't really want to talk about it. It was like, you're okay. Don't worry about it. Which frequently happens when you have fibromyalgia. They don't want to deal with anything else wrong with you. You've got enough going on. The list is long enough because fibromyalgia affects every part of your beingness. Obviously, because our fight, flight, and freeze is turned on. I didn't know that then, though. But what started happening is I was doing all of this meditation and going within. And I was a very introspective person anyway. I already was a very self-aware person, but I wasn't aware of exactly what it meant to be an energetic being in a physical body. I was already very much into self-care. I was one of those who I got the rest I needed. I had to for my health. I exercised every day. I had to for my health, or most every day. I watched my weight, and it yo-yoed a lot, but I had my weight back down. I was keeping it down for my health. All of these type things. So I was already into self-care. I was also learning to, I would say, reassert myself. I was born an assertive person, not a wimpy person, but because of how I was raised and because of going into fight, flight, and freeze mode, my whole life I would have this tendency to just freeze, to get energetically stuck, to know that the situation was not what it should be, to know that I had it within me to change it, but to just not be able to see how. And it was always a very frustrating thing for me. I can remember as a little girl, I would get that way over school. I was a perfectionist, a straight A student, all those things. And if I thought there was something that I was not going to be able to do, I would just freeze. It wasn't acceptable for me to fail at anything. It wasn't acceptable for me to not be the best at it. It wasn't acceptable for me to not make an A. It wasn't acceptable for something to be a hard concept for me. That was unfathomable to me. And if it was, then I froze up. I was afraid. And I also was that way with like some teachers who were very difficult, who had very difficult personalities, because I didn't understand that. I got along with all of my teachers. I was a very good student. I was a good child. I didn't cause trouble. I didn't understand these teachers who I saw as safe places. Teachers I saw as, frankly, the people I could trust. So when I ran into these teachers that were anything but that, that scared me too. It's like, okay, school is where I excel. School is where I feel safe. School is where I know what to do and how to do it, and I do it well. And now there are these teachers that aren't easy to get along with, that are actually difficult and scary. That wasn't okay with me. And so I had a home life that was difficult a lot. And then school at times was difficult a lot. And so the fight, flight, and freeze mode, it just became this on again, off again thing. That when things were going well, school and home, I was great. If things started getting difficult at one or the other, I would start having health issues, start getting sick, and eventually get very nervous and very scared. Scared. I was always fighting fear from the time I was a little girl. I was afraid to disappoint, afraid that I wasn't going to live up, afraid that I wasn't doing the right thing, afraid. Yet at the same time, I had this assertiveness within me and this knowing within me and this confidence within me that most of the time in my youth caused me to push through all of that. Yet I recognized that it was there, and it did freeze me at times. And then as I got older, around 12, 13, I developed irritable bowel syndrome. When it came time to go to college, I froze because my family didn't go to college. That's not what they did. Well, I was going to go. I was going to make something of myself. Yet everything I had always wanted to be, I was always told, no, that's not okay. And so it really caused my life to not be all the things it should be. I didn't live my life, my story, my way. I was living my life in fear a good deal of the time, but not okay with being afraid. I was one of those people, I'm not going to be afraid of this. I mean, I was one of those people that I knew that what I had within me, I knew my capabilities, and I was going to use them. And yet at the same time, it was like I could not push through it. I didn't know how to push through it. So I would push and push and push until I would get so sick that I couldn't push anymore. And this became the cycle of my life, which is typical with fibromyalgia, is we're highly motivated people, self-motivated people with big aspirations who work hard at them, when we have success, something comes in, or too many things start coming in, or we're not able to keep difficult energies out, or something of that nature. And it overpowers us, and we crash. And then we have to pull ourselves out of that crash and start back up again. And it becomes a cycle. And then you get where you're not able to function at all. The cycles become faster and faster, more and more frequent, lasting longer and longer, harder and harder to pull out of, until finally your health is in such bad shape you don't pull out of it. You stay more in a state of crisis mode than you do healthy and assertive and accomplishing, which is what you had pushed yourself to do all those years. Well, what I had learned was pushing myself was not the answer. That's what finally the doctor who diagnosed me said, is you know what's wrong with you. You figured it out years ago. Now, are you through trying to be Superwoman, or are you ready to take care of yourself? Because you can go back home, rest up, get back in Superwoman mode and go do it again. But how many times do you have to collapse at work? How many more times are you going to do this to yourself? How much damage are you going to do before you stop and you start taking care of you? What he was telling me was, it's your life, your story. I'm giving you a choice, but you really have no choice. You're only going to be able to do this so much longer. And then your body's just going to stop doing it. So what are you going to do? But even he didn't know, or didn't, if he did, he wasn't talking about it, that I had an energetic body. And if I understood that, I could take control of my life, my story. He was giving me the options, and that he knew at the level of consciousness he was at, to help me get my life, my story under my control. Well, I did. And I spent years in a very self-care mode, where I rested when I needed to. And I found ways to still be useful to the world, because I don't know how to be anything but. That's where so much of my self-esteem comes from, is in accomplishing. And accomplishing to me was always putting something out there that lit people up in some way, that informed people, motivated people, inspired people, that helped. So I still spent years with this yo-yoing of, because I was still surrounded by difficult personalities, and I was still open to all of these energies. And so I would go through still these cycles, because I'm a workaholic too. It's what I love. I do things I love, and then I love what I do. And so I can get too wrapped up in it, especially since it's where I felt safe. This is where I feel safe, is doing what I do now. So it was no different. So whenever I did feel well, I would overextend, even though I knew better, because I always felt behind. Like I was behind because I had fibromyalgia. I'd failed myself in so many ways. I'd failed my life in so many ways. There were so many things I should have accomplished that I wasn't accomplishing. And so when I had these moments of clarity, when my health was, when I seemed normal, when I didn't have the fog, when I wasn't exhausted, when I wasn't in horrible pain, I bulldozed myself at those times. Bear in a china shop, I did as much as I could. I put out as much as I could. I produced as much as I could. And of course, then I would crash. So I was still in these cycles and still doing it to myself. But the truth of the matter was, I was trying to advance my life, my story. I just kept thinking, okay, one of these times I'm going to be in this clarity mode, and I'm going to find the right thing. I'm going to put the right stuff out, and it's going to make the right difference. And that's going to be my magic bullet, if you will. That's going to be the thing that slays what is wrong with me and brings me out of it. And I'm going to get my life back. I was the one telling everyone, let's get real about it. This is what it is. There's no cure known. Let's face what we have. Let's live our lives to the fullest. Let's tell everyone about it. Let's educate people about it. Let's look at other people's lives and see that there are other people with stuff far worse, far more difficult, and they're accomplishing. I was telling everyone it's fibro with little letters, life with great big letters, and I meant all of it. But I was still in this cycle of crashing and burning because I was so determined that, okay, but that's not going to be my life. My life is not going to be that. This is my life, my story, and I'm not going to live it this way. So when I had to have the quantum emotional healer, when that's what I got into, was quantum emotional healing, suddenly I started finding the answers to how to do that. Do I have it 100% yet? No. I'm obviously struggling some today. I do still take a medication for headaches. It's a neurological med that helps with the neural pathways. And insurance issue, pre-approval issue, we're still fighting to get it paid for again and to get the medication back. And so that is very frustrating for me because I've worked so hard and accomplished so much, and to be set back because of something I can't control. That we've been trying to get the paperwork right. The doctors have worked on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a medication I need to help my neural pathways function correctly, and I don't have it. That is frustrating to me and limiting, but I'm not willing to accept those kind of limitations. I still expect that although the doctor's done what they can, I've done what I can. I've now got it all going yet again. The pharmacy's working on it. I'm supposed to be able to make this right. But you see, every life is a story. Life being a story means we only control ourselves. I don't control so many other things. And so we have to learn to live our lives in that way. We have to learn to make our lives the beautiful lives they're supposed to be. Understanding always, it's only ourselves we can control. Now, once again, I've done everything I can to get this medication. So now I have this choice. How do I do my self-care and live my life, my story, my way, and succeed in spite of this? That's my choice to make. Is what things can I do now that I've done all the external things I can do? What do I do? Well, I do what I'm going to tell you all to do. I continue this process that I've been living. I work the process. And the process works. Is it perfect? It's not that the process is flawed. It's that we have real experiences to deal with. And we have to see them clearly and work within those experiences. See, every life is a story. But it's up to us how we react to it, how we experience it, how we go through that story, what we accept, what we don't accept. Living it in great big capital letters is up to each one of us. So, what do I mean when I say we're all energy and yet every life is a story? We are multidimensional energetic beings in a physical body. Therefore, we have to integrate that information I have to keep my energy management up, my self-care for my energetic body. And I have to continue to do the physical that I need to do. Now, caring for the energetic body, that's how we do our emotional and mental and spiritual self-care. Those all three wrap up into that. And then what we do for our physical self-care also correlates with those things. But it is the metaphysical, the fact that we are energy, and our physical bodies. That is the vehicle within which, that is the package within which we play our stories out. Now, I don't like the word play because I want to live with intention. That's what living with great big capital letters is about. That is about making choices and living with intention. So we're these multidimensional beings, and we haven't understood that. We weren't taught that. As a matter of fact, the people who did talk about it were labeled as crazy, or it was taboo, et cetera, et cetera. Well, quantum physics has proven we are energy. Everything is energy. Everything around us. Protons, electrons, neutrons that are combined in different densities in different ways, that through our 3D existence, this physical existence we're in, our bodies perceive in a certain way. So it is about perception as well. Well, we have to be able to perceive the other dimensions. I talked to you about how I heard all of my thoughts. I'm clairaudient. I was perceiving my other multidimensional aspects and other dimensions that are around us, because everything is energy. So it's not just us, it's not just what we see. So I'm clairaudient and I perceive those things. Adding that to my knowledge of my life, my story, has been a profound awakening for me. You hear a lot about the term spiritual awakening. Awakening simply means we're becoming aware of something. Conscious awakening. We're becoming consciously aware of something. We know it. Okay? The reason it's been called spiritual awakening is because it is the metaphysical. And to so many people, that's spirit. Well, that's because the energy that we come from is conscious energy. So it is, to many people, spirit, the divine, universe, God. We don't have to accept that paradigm, though, to deal with the fact that we are conscious energy. So it doesn't matter to me what somebody believes or doesn't believe, but we are conscious energy. That we have to accept so we can live our life, our story. The fact that there are other dimensions of this energy and that we can be in touch with those other dimensions, and that our clair abilities, our other senses like clairaudience, is how we do that. Our intuition is a clair ability, and we all have intuition. That's how we do that. I believe it's starting to rain. So that is how we discover the story that we're supposed to live. You see, every life is a story, and it's supposed to unfold for us. But we have to start with the understanding that we are energy and that everything else is energy. And conscious energy, the universe, wanted to experience itself. And so small parts of it were taken loose, and these small parts contained multi-dimensions. They became the multi-dimensional beings that we are. And the universe gave co-creative ability to this. It didn't have to give it to it because it was a part of itself. It's the universe literally divided off into small, they almost look like postage stamps, but paint chips is how it's been shown to me. You know, the paint color palettes will be where there's multiple colors. Well, that's what it looks like. That's the vision of it that I've been given, the clairvoyant view of it that I was given. Is it's like this tapestry of the universe, which has many dimensions to it, is subdivided from the universe, and that becomes each one of us. And we have all the abilities the universe has because we are the universe. And you're like, hold on, seriously? Do you mean that? Yes, we do. But the reason, and so there are some people who don't like the word co-create because they're like, well, if I am the universe and I'm not co-creating, I am a creator. Well, we are creators, but we're all co-creating. You see, the universe is one big tapestry of energy. We are a part of that tapestry. With energy, there's always cause and effect. If one thing, hello, good to have you. If one thing happens with energy, then everything is affected. So everything that we do, yes, we are creating, but it's co-creating because we are causing effect on other people. So it's co-creating. Now, what did we co-create? We co-created our stories. Energy, conscious energy, wanted to expand its consciousness. And so it broke off into all of these pieces, that's each one of us, to co-create lives, to experience things and expand its understanding, its number of experiences, to expand consciousness itself. Energy, conscious energy, consciousness wanted to expand, it wanted to experience things in a physical being so it could expand its understanding, so it could expand its data banks, so it could have an expansive existence, not just exist. You see, when we only experience ourselves, there's no expansion. Everything is the same. Well, that's not what conscious energy wanted. Conscious energy wanted things to evolve. They wanted to grow. They wanted to become more. And so that's why experiencing consciousness and making co-creators of us is what the choice was. So we come to live these stories in our own free will. Remember, we're a universe. We're little pieces of the universe, pieces of the divine, sparks of the divine, multidimensional in aspect. We are multidimensional. We are not just the energy that is within us. The energy that comes down into this physical body can only hold so much of it. So the rest of it, we are in contact with through our energy centers or our chakras, but also through all of these clair abilities I'm talking about. Being clairaudient, I am in touch with the other dimensional aspects of myself, the energy that cannot be contained, that cannot be embodied in this body. And the other energies, whether they're embodied energies or not. And not all of them are in this dimension. Now, each of the energy centers represents a dimension in us. Our heart space is where our intuition or our imagination is. All right? The mind is where our protectors or protection is. It's also called ego. I prefer using dimension of the mind. So those are two main dimensions that we're going to talk about. But then we have the multidimensional aspects of ourselves, the aspects of us that are not embodied, but it's still us. And working with us, guiding us along this story that we created in our own free will. We co-created what this life experience was going to be. It's designed before we get here, but we design it. Now, why do we do it that way? To prevent chaos is why. Remember, with energy, everything that moves affects everything else. That's why we do it in co-creation. Now, energy wanted to expand consciousness. And so we, being given co-creative ability, us having co-creative ability and able to incarnate in these bodies, is what expands the consciousness. So we get together and we decide, what is my life going to be? And then we come here so our energetic beingness can incarnate into a physical form and live out these stories of our own free will that we created. That is where our free will is at. Now, the problem has been that over time, the mind decided that, hold on a second, I'm supposed to protect us, and there's somebody else telling us what to do. That's not our free will. Our free will is to do what we want to do when we get here. And it got flipped. And there are still people who are teaching that everything we do is about free will, and that free will is what we decide from moment to moment, and that's writing our lives, our stories, our ways. That's not true. We are robbing ourselves of the story we came here to live when we do it that way. When we do it that way, we are not letting our multi-dimensional self, which created this lifetime, actually help us live the life we came here to live. We're robbing ourselves of that life. And maybe you think, well, maybe I like this life better. No, you wouldn't. Not if you understood. You see, consciousness did not want to create physical beings that would suffer. Our lives are meant to be beautiful stories. Not necessarily perfection, not necessarily without things happening that we have to learn from, learn to overcome, grow from, etc., etc. That's what consciousness is here to experience. But it didn't come here to put us through hellacious, tormenting existences. That is a very low vibrational thing, and it's chaotic energy. And that chaotic energy reverberates out and creates a chaotic universe. Energy is about order. Protons, electrons, neutrons. When everything is working right, everything is in the orbit it's supposed to be and spinning the way it's supposed to, etc., etc. That is how the universe is supposed to be. It's how we are supposed to be. When you have chaotic energy come in and disrupt that, then, well, that's when explosions happen. All sorts of things happen. That is not meant to be. That is why we create the story before we get here. And then everyone has their unique vibrational frequency, because everything is energy. Energy is measured in frequencies. Our unique vibrational, energy vibrates, our unique vibrational frequency that we are to plug into. When everyone is plugged into those unique vibrational frequencies, then everyone is living the life they came here to live. And the universe, the whole of us, is in order, not chaos. Now, we were meant to live healthy. We're not meant to have all the health problems we have. I'm not meant to get overloaded by other people's emotions and that make me sick. I'm not meant to have all these other physical issues because of fight, flight, and freeze. But I didn't understand I had an energetic body and have all this societal programming to overcome now that I do understand it, so that I can be plugged into the vibrational frequency I was meant to. Now, the fact that I have not been plugged into my vibrational frequency means that there are places I was supposed to be according to my story, things I was supposed to experience according to my story, and I did not. I wasn't at the right place at the right time. I wasn't in vibrational frequency. I wasn't in alignment with self. And I wasn't the only one. All of us are this way. So my not being where I was supposed to be meant that the person who was waiting on me, the person whose story was correlated with mine, and they're waiting, well, they're just waiting because I didn't show up. And then because I didn't show up for them, something they were supposed to do, well, they didn't show up. So somebody else was waiting. This is butterfly effect. This is what created the chaotic energy. So getting into vibrational frequency and living the story we came here to live is really our only job we have. And we wrote these stories to be good stories, interesting stories, not, oh, it's all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, and there's not anything to learn or any, no, they're meant to be interesting stories, but we're not meant to get stuck in any of the places where we're, oh, well, let's go through some drama here and let's experience that and see what it's like. We're not meant to get stuck in that drama. But when we didn't know we were energetic bodies, it's exactly what was happening. And that's how we got to the whole place of having health issues, of having developed these social constructs, these societal programmings. And all of that happened because we shut off our chakra system that allowed us to communicate with all of our multidimensional self. And the mind, the dimension of the mind, the guardian dimension, the ego, got out of balance and started running the show instead of our heart, which knows the story we came here to live. We are to live by our clear abilities, our intuition, our clairvoyance, our clairaudience, our claircognizance, our just knowing, our clairsentience, our feeling it. All the clairs. Those are us understanding what our story is. That's how we discover our story. See, we created this story. We each came here. We're each to be plugged into our vibrational frequency. So the tapestry of energy that we are and that we have woven together for us all to experience is functioning the way it's supposed to, not with chaotic energy. But because the guardian dimension got this notion that, hold on a second, that's not free will. It led to us, literally us, humanity, the beings that we are now, shutting down our own chakra systems so that we were not utilizing all the dimensions of ourselves so we could live these lives the way we were meant to. That robbed us of the healthy, happy, whole, and complete, and that made the universe even more chaotic. The ripple effect of that is shown by the chaos in the world now. So we became lower vibrational because of that. Initially, these human forms, because we were using our multidimensionality, were high vibrational beings, living out the stories we came here to live. Now, it's been channeled to me what happened and all of those things. It corresponds with, you notice I keep calling it the guardian dimension. It corresponds with okay. History is written in a way that we understand it at the time. It's at the level of consciousness it's written at the time. The guardian dimension is the dimension of guardian angels. The fallen angel stories in the Bible. That is the dimension that didn't incarnate in the way that it wanted to. And so it wanted to experience life in a different way than the other dimensions. It was not pleased with the dimensionality, not the entire guardian angel dimension, but parts of it. So, the fallen angels, that's where all of that comes from. There was a group of that dimension that decided, hold on a second, we're not happy with how the other dimensions are doing things. We want to experience all of this differently, and we can. So there was literally a rebellion of that dimension, a large group. And that's what led to our shutting down our ability to communicate. It's been known as the fall of man. It's been known as what cut us off from God, what's caused us to know sin, what caused us to know the knowledge of good and evil. Well, what that meant was we got to find out about the lower vibrational dimensions of energy where evil exists. We were cut off from God because our connection to source is through having all of these chakras working and are using our multidimensionality to live the life we came here to live. But these few incarnated beings whose guardian dimension decided, no, it's not going to be that way. We're going to live these lives the way we want to. The heck with the story. Because they weren't experiencing dimensionality, this multidimensionality, the way they wanted to. They're the rebellion that led to all of this. And it's a little out there for some folks, and I really did not think I would end up ever saying that out loud for many years to come. But I do what I'm channeled to do. Bear in a china shop. You see, the multidimensional aspects of ourselves are different dimensions of energy that we have encountered through our clairabilities. Angels, people see angels. The guardian angels are the dimension of the mind. We have other dimensionalities too. Archangel energy is able to incarnate in a different way. Many people teach that they are the overseers of souls. And so that the particular archangel oversees and makes sure that your incarnation goes the way that it should. Well, that's because it is archangel energy that is incarnate. The dimension of the guardian angel did not want to play with everybody else. They wanted to take their marbles and play their way. A group of them. And so in the Atlantis time period, there were a group of them that figured out a way to shut off our other dimensions, to shut off these chakras so we weren't communicating with the other dimensions. And that led to the fall or the decrease in our conscious awareness of things and it decreased our vibrational frequency and it created chaos. Now, there have been many periods of history since then where the physical bodies that were being incarnate have been destroyed over and over and over, and then recreated. It's been started again, trying to come up with the point in time where we would actually be able to have bodies that were high vibrational again, and enough of that energy could incarnate now to overcome the dimension of the mind. That's why we have to transcend the dimension of the mind. The dimension of the mind has literally worked against us and caused us not to live these stories we came here to live. That's why we have to be transcendent beings. Now, does that make the guardian dimension bad? No, no labels. What happened, happened. How it happened, it was expansion of consciousness. See, people want to think that the universe is like pinpoints everything and nothing can happen that the universe doesn't allow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just doesn't work that way. How does consciousness expand if it's not new stuff? That's the point of the expansion of consciousness. But it was meant to be an orderly expansion. Thus, we write it, then come do it. Not go rogue and write it when we get here and cause chaos. So what we have been doing as the planet's vibration has come up, we're finally to the point where the planet's vibration is coming up. And this physical body is coming up in vibration. And we are now able to embody more of the high vibrational energy of our energetic multidimensional self. And we are becoming consciously aware of what we at one time knew, that we are energy and how to manage this energetic body to be healthy, happy, whole, and complete, which is what we came here to be. And how to transcend the mind or get the ego under control. But we have all this societal programming, all of these low vibrational constructs to overcome, to heal from, and progress from, that cause us to get stuck. People with fight, flight, and freeze are high vibrational beings who were able to experience these energies, but they had all the social constructs, all the programming, all the things from their past life experiences, which are imprinted in their energetic DNA. They had to overcome to transcend the mind and start writing their lives, their stories, their way. And that is what we are all going through as a planet right now. This is exactly what we're going through right now as a planet. Different people have different amounts of this energy embodied within them. And as we become more and more high vibrational and more people become aware, and we get to where more and more of the bodies are embodied by more higher vibrational energy, we will all start again plugging into the vibrational frequency we said we would be in. Start living the stories we came here to live. And then order will be restored to the universe. And then instead of having low vibrational, dense experiences, instead of experiencing evil and all those things that we were never meant to know about, conscious energy did not want to expand consciousness by going into those depths. But the guardian, we're being denied something. We're being denied knowledge of evil. But the concept of what that was going to cause was not understood. And it has caused us to live very difficult stories that we were not meant to live. And now we are coming out of. But we have to overcome the dimension of the mind. That is more difficult for some people than others. There's a lot of societal programming. There's been a lot of teaching about don't be emotional, don't listen to your heart, listen to your mind. And that is exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. It's what keeps us stuck. The heart, the intuition dimension, knows the story we came here to live. But we came here to live interesting lives too. And so we didn't come here awake to the whole story. We came here to awaken, to discover the story, and to be sovereign over that story, over ourselves. Meaning, one dimension doesn't run the show. We use all of our dimensionality to live that story out that we came here to live. We are sovereign over all of this. Not one dimension, but all of us. So we have to be open to our intuition so we get those intuitive hits. This lights me up, that lights me up. I want to be this, I want to feel this, I want to experience that. Those things, those high vibrational energies, those come from your heart space. The dimension of imagination or intuition, which is where we can conceive of things. It's where we conceptualize. Okay? So we are conceiving, opening up to, discovering the story we wrote that we came here to live, that we're supposed to be plugged into. Hi, good to have you. Now, the higher vibrational energies that are not able to embody, it's still working with us to experience this. And so that is our control tower. That's what can see what's going on and help guide us and say, okay, you're supposed to be over there now. No, they're here now. We get the synchronicities. We get the intuitive hits. We get the guidance, which is other dimensions of ourselves, which have been personified by us as archangels, as other types of angels, as dragon energy, as unicorn energy, as fairy energy. Those are personifications of dimensions that we are in touch with that are us. The notion that people die and go to heaven and become an angel, and we transition from being embodied physically, and one of the dimensions of us is the personification of it is an angelic. There's a dimension of our energy. That is where all of that comes from. So knowledge of all this is how we understand we really do control this story that we live. Understanding all of this, understanding our multidimensionality and what that means, understanding that we are energy and what that means, understanding that we wrote our story already and we have now come here to live it. And that we have to take control over the guardian dimension, the dimension of the mind, and transcend it and keep it from having us not communicate with all the dimensions of our body. That is how we live in great big capital letters. And that is how everyone gets their life, their story, their way, their happy ever after that they wrote for themselves. And that we restore order from chaos. We stop chaotic energy. We stop the butterfly effect. We minimize the butterfly effect. Is there going to be some? There's always going to be some, because we are discovering these stories. But our higher dimensions, the control tower, they can see that and they can guide us through that. But we have to be open to intuition and transcending the mind and listening. So that's why I've been talking about, reprogramming the mind, rewiring the mind, getting the mind on board, working with the mind instead of it working against us. This dimension is not meant to be our enemy. It's meant to be our protector. It's not meant to be keeping us from living the story we came here to live, but it's supposed to be helping us with this process. So, the 1 page a day quantum leap to living your life, your story, your way is understanding that we are energetic beings and how to transcend the mind so we can be energetically healthy, utilizing all of our chakra system. So we are getting the intuitive hits and we are progressing along our timeline, and so that we can heal from the traumas and that we've gone through and from societal programming and come up in vibration at the same time and start doing true self-care, which is living our life, because that's what we came here to do. We came here to live that life in vibrational alignment. So true self-care is doing what it is you have to do to be in vibrational alignment. It's taking care of your energetic beingness and then taking care of the physical vessel that you're in, so that that integration experiences your life, your story, your way, and everyone else does too. And the tapestry of energy is not chaotic. All the different musicians here are not playing in the wrong key. We're all playing in the right key, and it's a symphony, not noise and chaos. That's what this process does. It is about understanding that we are to open up to the heart space and discover what we are here to feel, be, and experience. And when we do that, and we put ourselves in that vibrational frequency, what does that feel like? Vibrational frequency is measured in emotion. What does it feel like? That puts us in the right frequency. Everything is energy. We attract that frequency to us. That progresses us down our timeline. We stay in that vibrational frequency, and our lives start happening the way they're supposed to, the way we wrote them to happen. And we're healthier, happier. We're living our life, our story, our way. So that's what the page starts with, is feeling, being, and experiencing. But before we can get to that, we have to get back to what I started with, which is, or have alluded to, we have to determine first where we're at, what character it is that we have developed into at this, before we understood all of this. We have to have a starting point. So that's our character development. And we have to identify all the other people that have roles in our story. And we have to learn how to relate to them, because everything is relation. Everything is relative. We are always in relationship because we are always co-creating. Everything we do affects someone else. We're always in relationship. And what we have to understand is how to create the dimension of the relationship. Stay healthy, happy, whole, and complete ourselves. And manage things from the dimension of the relationship. So we can stay in our vibrational frequency. You see, we don't control their lives, their stories. It's their way. So we don't integrate into 1 + 1 = 1. And we don't live unintegrated 1 + 1 = 2. And we're not really working together. It's 1 + 1 = 3. We create a third dimension. And it makes us exponentially capable. And that is how we stay in vibrational alignment This is how we raise our vibration up. This is how we quantum leap, getting the planet's vibration up and our own vibration up, is by understanding how to manage relationships. So we have to identify, where are we at? What is our baseline right now? Where are we at in our story? So that's the first thing we have to do, is we have to write down, I am who we are. And I am feeling, and be brutally honest and list everything you feel. I am being, and write down everything that you are. And I'm experiencing, write down everything that you see you have manifested in your life. You have created in your life. You have attracted in because of the vibrational frequency you're in. Then we go into our heart space and we look at those. What of those is really me? What there really matches who I am? We can do that through meditation, quiet meditation. We can do it through journaling everything out. We can do it through walking meditations. There's all kinds of meditations we can do, all sorts of guided meditations. But it's basically, we have to stop distracting ourselves, but instead connect with ourselves, go within, and open up to the heart space, to the intuition, and trust it. Whatever lights you up, that is your intuition guiding you through this story, to this story. So once you have this is my character, this is who I am in this story, this is me, this is how I'm showing up, this is my character. Once you have that, and you dropped into your heart space, then you write out, what do you really want to be? What parts of that feeling do you want to keep? And what would you rather feel instead? What part of what you're being do you want to keep? What would you rather be instead? And what part of what you're experiencing, what part of that you have manifested do you want to keep? And what different experiences do you want? This is where we start. And then we look at all the different people, all the different relationships that we have, and determine, do they have the amount of space in my life, in my story, that matches with who I want to be, what I want to feel, what I want to experience? Is that job, is my relationship with that job, is that the right job for me? Am I in alignment with that? The life I've built, pick out the parts, the people, the relationships that are in alignment with you. And you determine you're going to keep those. And the things that you determine aren't in alignment with you, we're going to work on moving you out of those. And we do that through where we place our gratitude. Gratitude is the energy that says, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to be grateful for. This is what I'm going to put energy into. It's a very high vibrational energy. You see, we get lit up by something, we attract it in. Putting gratitude into it, expressing the energy of gratitude, giving it our time, our attention. That is how we keep attracting it to us. Everything is energy. So this is how we move along our timeline. We also have to learn how to stay in the higher vibrational frequencies. That's progressing, spiraling upward. And we move at the same time. The planet doesn't stop for us to do this. Time keeps going. So we have to do this with intention, or we're just flowing along, taking whatever we are attracting in and not consciously aware of what we're doing. And butterfly effect is going to continue. So this one page, once you get your character defined and you look at all the different roles that are participating in your story, then we go to this 1 page a day, just 1 page a day, where every day you start reprogramming all of you to be sovereign over yourself and to work as a whole multidimensional being. You tune in, what do I want to feel? What do I want to be? What do I want to experience? And you create your truth or affirmation for the day. And you do mirror work to program yourself with this. And we transcend the mind and get the protective, the guardian dimension on board and helping with all of this. Not working against us. It is meant to protect us, not work against us. So that is the beginning of the process. It is your life, your story. You do get to live it your way. You already decided what that is in your own free will. And now to have order and not chaos, to live the life that you're going to be healthy, happy, whole, and complete in, we have to transcend the mind, reconnect to all of our multidimensional aspects, communicate with the other dimensions that there are that are guiding us, and stay sovereign over that. We have to do our energy management. That is energy management. And then, but we are in a physical body, so we have to do physical self-care too. But that needs to light us up. And we have to have energetic bandwidth for that. And that is what this process every day is going to do. It's going to help you fine-tune your life every day. Create that story that you already wrote. You're actually going to bring that story in. You're going to manifest that story in. So that's the story you're living. No, I went a little over an hour. Didn't mean to. Sorry about that. The headache's easing up, so that's better. I'm not foggy. It's just the headache makes it a little hard to concentrate. But there again, it's my life, my story. And I'm going to keep plugging away at the supportive roles out there who are not being really, they're in butterfly effect right now. So they need to come into their vibrational frequency so we can take care of this. You see, you have to do your energy management, which is also it's not magical. I can't just throw my hands up and say, okay, universe, fix this. I have to do the things I know to do. I get the intuitive hits. I know. I get the thoughts. I have the thoughts. This is what you do to handle this. And it's up to me to use my energy to progress along my timeline, handling that. That puts me in the vibrational frequency to get the medication and to move along my timeline. And the more people are in vibrational frequency, the less timeline things like this there are. The more healthy, happy, whole, and complete we are, the more lit up we are, the more we're following our heart space. The healthier we are. That's how we become those things, is by being in our vibrational frequency. So understanding your life is a story. Understanding that it's an energetic story, a conscious energy story. Understanding how we got to where we were. And that, just like we now understand who the characters were that got us here, or we kind of understand it. I really don't want to get into it too terribly much, although it's interesting, but I don't think the world's ready for it all yet. Didn't expect to tell any of that today, but my life is unfolding according to the story I'm here to live. I'm here to explain a lot of these things. Not everyone is consciously ready for them. The mind would have me not speak up. It's not safe to tell those things. It's not safe to say you've been channeled information that They may not be safe to. It may be people out there who are, oh my God, where's she getting that stuff? And that's crazy. And can you believe she said that about angels? And you're no more shocked than I was when I was told. And then when I was told, and you will be explaining these things to the world, I was like, you've got to be kidding. They're going to think I'm nuts. I'm going to tell them that not all guardian angels have been good. That's what you want me to do. And it's like, you're going to tell them the truth. So people can get control over their stories and live their life their way in great big capital letters. So this is part one. I'm not going to do a lot of background tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to get right into determining where you're at with your character right now and accepting the fact that you are to show up the way you said you would in your vibrational frequency. And that is the only expectation that we are to have, is of ourselves to do that. Because when each of us are doing that, then we're all in the vibrational frequency we're supposed to be in. And we're all treating each other with mutual respect. You show up in the vibrational frequency you said you would. To stay in that vibrational frequency, you come to terms with, how do I want to be treated? Then you treat yourself that way first. That is self-care. And this is what causes you to take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and energetically. And then you put that energy back out. And that is the energy you will attract to you. So we have to first know where we're at. And then we have to daily determine where we want to be according to what we're being guided to be. Then we have to show up in the world. It's our only job, is to show up as the one and only us. You get to be the one and only you, according to this. But that's all you control. You do not control how other people show up. The highest vibrational frequency, the frequency of the universe, the tapestry that we exist in, that we were created from, is unconditional love. This is me. Now, how do you show up? Okay. How do we have a relationship now with how the two of us show up? So we are exponentially co-creating, not selfishly co-creating. You don't hand someone a list of conditions. They hand you, this is how I show up. And if you've come across one another, if you're in vibrational alignment with one another, this third safe space is where you manage the relationship. And you have exponential co-creative ability then. That's why we have business relationships is what they are. They give us exponential co-creative ability. Anyone who thinks that they are creating their own life themselves does not understand how the story works. The way the story works is everything you do affects someone else. That's why you have to be in your vibrational frequency. That's why you have to understand how to create these relationship dimensions so that you can be co-creating exponentially. This is what quantum leaps our lives out of the denser energies into the vibrational frequency we're supposed to be in. Healthy, happy, whole, and complete. So that is an absolute necessity that we understand that. We are sovereign over ourselves and no one else. And labeling other people and having contentious relationships with people, that only stays in denser energy. People are at the level of consciousness they are. When you do this is my character, and then these are all the roles that other people have. Whatever energy they're at is where they're at. Don't label that. Even the difficult personalities, don't label them. Just acknowledge where they're at and that they're not in alignment with what you know your story is. And then we're going to transmute that energy, call it back into our lives, our part of it, our fragments of it. And we're going to use that energy to increase our energetic bandwidth to live this life, our story, our way. But we have to first understand we are energetic beings that are multidimensional. We have to function as multidimensional, which is our energy management. And we are sovereign over ourselves and over no one else. But we are not an island unto ourselves. We are part of the tapestry of energy, the symphony of the universe. And the universe is now trying to tune us all up, put us in our vibrational frequency, get us to that point. So we go from having chaos to order. So instead of just a bunch of instruments that sound out of tune, we're finely tuned, smooth playing, beautiful symphony. That's what we're doing. And that's what this one page a day will help you do for yourself. And when everyone is doing this for themselves, then we will be in that frequency. And that is what is happening across the world. That is why people like me are coming on and talking about, I'm getting these downloads. I'm admitting to everyone I'm clairaudient. I'm hearing this. I'm telling everyone about my clairsentience. I'm talking about my clairvoyance. That's why people are going online and doing this. And there are many people other than me. Do they get channeled the exact same things I do? No. But it is our story unfolding. And it takes braveness, it takes boldness, it takes being in our vibrational frequency to do this. But I wouldn't trade it for anything because it lights me up. And it's where I am healthier, happier, more whole, more complete. And that's only going to continue with the more and more in frequency I am, and the more and more others around me come into frequency. And then we can all be living as long as we're breathing in great big capital letters. Pharmacy just called, so I'm going to call them back and get that med for my headaches. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about this some more. We're going to move on to the one-page sheet. But this is the prelude to it. This is why the sheet exists. This is how it's going to function. So what you need to do first and foremost, create that page of your, this is how I feel, this is what I'm being, this is how I'm existing, this is what my existence is. Create that for the now, not what you want it to be. Reality. What is reality? What are you really feeling? All the good, all the not so good, all the high vibrational, all the not so high vibrational, all the light energies, all the denser energies. What are you feeling? Really? What are you being, really? Not what you want to be, not what you thought that you'd be, not what you wear the mask to be. And we all wear masks. But what are you being, really? All the high vibrational being you're doing, all the dense being you're doing. And then define your experience. So what am I experiencing really? What have I really what have I really manifested? What is my life really? All the good stuff, all the high vibrational lights you up that you want to keep, all the stuff that I'm going to want to work on that. And then identify all the people that have roles in your life. Big roles, little roles, all the relationships. Your job is your relationship. Okay? All the relationships that are supporting roles in your story. And then tomorrow, we're going to start on the one page. It's going to help bring all of this, tune it up, so the orchestra is all playing in the same key. And we have a beautiful symphony. All right? living in great big capital letters.